Okay, it is 9:30. Excuse me. We have quiet? I did. All right. All right. This is the October 21st Mojave County Board of Supervisors meeting. If you all rise, Pastor Bill is here to do the invocation, and then Supervisor Bishop for the pledge.
Good morning, Madam Chair, supervisors, and honored guests. Heavenly Father, we come before you right now. Just ask you that you would put your arms around this meeting, Father, that it'll be peaceful and orderly, and Lord, that the business that is done, that it'll be pleasing to you, and Father, that the county will just continue right on. Father, we just thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to call for an executive session to be held November 4th, 2024 at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of pending or contemplated litigation claims in demand. Mr. Espelin.
Good morning. Nothing to report. Thank you.
Nothing. Committee and/or legislative reports. Supervisor Johnson.
Nothing.
Supervisor Gould.
Nothing today, Madam.
Supervisor Lingenfelter.
Nothing this week, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and Supervisor Bishop.
I attended the CSA Legislative Conference, and I'll let you do the summary of that report if you don't mind.
Okay. That's it for you? Okay. Yes, I did attend along with Supervisor Bishop our CSA Legislative Summit. Excuse me, if you can refrain from comments. What we do at this summit is we decide which of the legislative priorities we would like our lobbyists, which in this case is CSA, to work on. Every county gets to submit. Mojave County submitted 3, and all 3 of them passed. So we were very happy about that. It's not always been the case, but we have a lot of support this year for our legislative priorities. So that is all for now. We do not have a lobbyist report. We have a county manager's report this morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. No report from me this morning.
Thank you very much. We have a presentation first. I'll go to the presentation. Mojave County Park Coordinator Tom Davison and Public Works. Parks wish to formally recognize Noah Brock for his emergency response and life-saving actions.
Good morning, Madam Chair, supervisors, and other board members. Thank you for giving us the time for a brief and positive award presentation. Mojave County Park Police Sergeant Noah Brock was working the North Beach area of Davis Camp when he observed an unusual activity along the river and acted swiftly to identify an individual floating in the water that was not breathing and showed no pulse. Noah was able to provide CPR that saved the individual's life. Based on the fact that Noah was not dispatched to this incident, but rather took it upon himself to investigate and successfully use CPR, I would like to present Noah Brock with this life-saving award. Would the board like to shake his hand or have a picture with Noah?
Is that sure?
Yes.
Don't be shy. He don't bite. You can get in close. Hiding. Whoever's hiding behind Bishop. Bruce. Hiding. Come over here. There you go.
Okay, now we will go back to the call to public. A public body may make an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. We all know the drill. We're going to start with Chris Rodarty today.
Chris Rodarty, Mojave County taxpayer. For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. Psalm 139:13. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. Jeremiah 1:5. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him. Among them, haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. Proverbs 6:16-17. November 5th is 2 weeks away. While most of Mojave County seems in favor of life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, what about the rights of the unborn? Prop 139, if enacted, and I quote from Ballotpedia, would amend the Arizona Constitution to establish that every individual has the fundamental right to abortion, that the state of Arizona may not interfere with before the point of fetal viability, defined in the measure as the point of pregnancy when there is significant chance of the survival of the fetus outside of the uterus without the application of extraordinary medical measures. The measure would also provide for the right to an abortion after fetal viability if it is done so to protect the life, physical, or mental health of the pregnant individual in the judgment of a treating healthcare professional. Barbaric and evil. They can't even say woman. Pregnant individual. No Christian in good conscience can vote yes on 139. God makes it very clear life begins at conception. These babies are not clumps of cells or inconveniences. Killing them in the womb is not reproductive health care. Abortion is an ugly, brutal, savage procedure. Babies scrambling to escape, the deadly forceps invading the most secure space, their mother's womb. And did you know that according to a Guttmacher Institute study, which is a Planned Parenthood affiliate, less than 1% of abortions are a result of rape, and incest is less than 0.5%? And if it comes down to saving the life of the mother, I mean the pregnant individual, how about we deliver the baby first? The Democrat Party loves abortion. They are the party of death, disorder, chaos, and destruction. Trump has been too squishy on abortion, but I believe his heart can be changed. Hers cannot. We must vote for him. God is angry, and he will impose his wrath upon the country, Arizona, and upon Mojave County if we decide to kill our most precious, vulnerable, defenseless citizens, the unborn. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. No on 139.
Thank you very much. Next up is Greg Beffert, and then Scotty McClure.
Supervisors, for the record, Greg Beffert from Yucca. Last time I came up here, I spoke about the lie that we were told about Israel, and primarily this is my objection to the proclamation that 4 supervisors here supported in what was framed as Israel's right to defend itself. I outlined that as an occupying force by international law, Israel has no right to defend itself at all. They're an occupying force, and they have been since 1948. But read a book, folks. Quit listening to your Facebook friends and your media about what's going on here. I told you about the atrocities, the ethnic cleansing that was going on here. Here's a book that you might want to read. It's by Ilan Pappé, one of the most prolific Jewish historians of this century, who talked about the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. This isn't me talking here. Smotrich, the finance minister, go look at his comments about the starvation of Gazans and how it could be justified. The same guy that wants to extend Israel's borders to Damascus. Their defense minister announced a siege on Gaza. They blockaded medicine. They've bombed aid trucks, set off explosive pagers in Lebanon, killed innocent people. They have no qualms about and no distinction between terrorists and Palestinians who they claim support them. There's no distinction. They've been bombing UN troops, shooting at UN troops. They last bombed El-Aqsa Hospital, a tent hospital, killing people. There's no end to their madness, and we support it. This is their morality. That's the first thing that goes in war. Is the first thing the first victim is truth. The second is morality in war. This is I don't believe in the Western morality. The only way to fight a moral war is a Jewish way. Destroy their holy sites, kill men, women, and children, and cattle. This is a rabbi talking here. When you have this kind of mentality, one on top of we're the master race, how do you differentiate ideologically between we are God's chosen people? One's a Nazi, the other one's an Ashkenazi. How do you distinguish? This is about the Greater Israel Project. Read some history on Zionism. The area of the Jewish state stretches from the Brook of Egypt to the Euphrates. That was Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism from the 1800s. This is Benjamin Netanyahu in front of the UN talking about the Greater Israel Project or the New Middle East. This is a map of the Greater Israel Project. This is a patch from an IDF soldier.
Your time is up. Thank you very much.
I'll be back.
Scotty McClure, you're up. Followed by Armin String, if you'll get ready.
I guess Hilda's too scared to be here. Jeannie Kinch, my God.
Excuse
when are
me,
you going to
sir,
learn?
we need your name and...
Scotty from Bullhead.
Thank you. Go ahead.
You're yelling, phoning and yelling at the PCs in our office over there at the GOP office instead of talking to Valerie, which is the head of the GOP office. You don't call up people there that are working their behinds off and they're they're good people, good Republicans, and they're sitting there and getting chewed out by Jeannie Kinch for something the Democrats are doing. They're pulling up our signs, there are Trump signs, and replacing them with theirs. Why doesn't Jeannie Kinch get the cops out there at night patrolling? They're right there by Safeway and Aztec and down there in Bullhead. Get the cops out there at midnight instead of the coffee shop, Jeannie Kinch. You call these people, you just don't care about the bylaws at all. You don't go by them, you don't believe in them because you're queen. You and Hildy have ruined that office in Bullhead. Roy Ann Ortiz is turning over in her grave because of you and Hildy. Now, this thing where that cop was up here, or probation officer, he said he knew where all 190 child molesters were located, their addresses and everything. Thing is, I got up here and I said I had 345 people on. The count's wrong here, Schuster. You need to get together all the computers. Lake Havasu has one. We have one. Apparently, Kingman has one, and that's 345, and he says he knows where all 190 are. Well, that 345 compared to 90, their addresses are behind Safeway in Fort Mojave. Or I don't know how they're getting into town and going to the homeless shelter and using that. Why did the IT department get involved in this election where you can't look up people like Letman and see if they turned in their stuff they're supposed to turn in? Oh, and Hildy, it's never too early to inform you we're going to do a recall on you.
Okay, then. Armin Stang, Scott Van Ingen, and Pastor Roy Hagemeyer after that.
Morning Supervisors, Armin Stanger, Fort Mojave, aka the German. I got some more videos for you. And by the way, I got stopped by the manager from Safeway on Friday. They have a homeless problem behind Safeway breaking into their dumpsters again. So I really would appreciate if they go away under the bridge, or flood the channel. Maybe they can swim, maybe not. Who cares? I'm not in the mood for this homeless problem here anymore. Come on. There. We have another dust cloud coming down Cavalry Road, and there'll be more. Now let me forward this here. There's another one coming down the road, and yesterday I had Aquatic going by the house with a dump truck with about 50 plus miles an hour, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. So this is unacceptable with the traffic on the road. I think the road department needs to put a big hole back in Dunlop so we get less traffic. Or the road department is doing dust abatement on our road. Then this is getting out of hand. I'm coughing my brains out all day long, and dust is hazardous. So why don't the county fix the problem instead spending money on a frivolous lawsuit over unpaid mileage? Thank you.
Thank you, Armin. Scott Van Ingen, I hope I pronounced that right. Pastor Roy Hagemeyer, and then James Shoppers.
Hello, my name is Scott Vinningen, and I live in the Cimarron community of Mojave Valley. I'm here to make a couple points I have about that energy plant that they're wanting to erect. I'm a business owner, and I could possibly benefit from this energy park. But honestly, I care more about my family and friends and community than money. The citizens of Bullhead fought placing peaker plants in this area, in their area, and won. And so did the citizens of Fort Mojave. They fought the plant for the very same reasons that I and citizens of Mojave Valley are fighting this. The health and lives of children, families, and elderly are more important than this plant, especially since there are other options. All over the U.S. are coalitions fighting to replace peaker plants with more efficient, cleaner options. Our government has posted the dangers of peaker plants. The Government Accountability Office website clearly states that even short-term exposure can lead to decreased lung functions, cough, chest tightness, and throat irritation. And short-term is described in as short as 1 week. Long-term is heart attack, strokes, birth defects, and cancer. If these plants were safe, this information would not be published. How can you honestly vote for something that will hurt people? Is the almighty dollar more important than people's lives? If not, it's not if it harms someone. and it will hurt many. The first meeting I attended regarding the peaker facility was stating that it was going to be for 19 acres and that there would be 2 peakers. Now it has grown to almost 300 acres and up to, from what I've heard, 19 peakers. This area also will be rezoned for commercial manufacturing. Many people like myself moved here to escape congestion and dirty air. We love the beauty of the desert, and this will damage that beauty. This plant is directly behind our community, but the winds will blow these toxins clear across the whole valley, including Golden Valley, which is evident by the fires that are down there in Needles somewhere, and there's smoke all through Golden Valley, so it'll blow long distances. I am asking for you today to please not allow this plant to take place when there is so much land out there where it can be moved to, or even other options that are cleaner. Please vote no for my family and for yours.
Thank you very much, Pastor Roy Hagemeyer. And then James Shoppers, and then Chris Shoppers.
Good morning, Supervisors. Roy Hagemeyer, Mojave Valley, Arizona. I want to begin with Matthew 16:26. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? Chairman Angus, how do people change, or do they? We have a huge problem in our county government today. Political favors in return for who knows what. People willing to destroy communities to give favor to corporate friends, elected officials who say one thing and do just the opposite. Like in the expose that you will read in Our Town magazine, where you said of yourself that your goals are to protect the integrity of local government. How about you live in that integrity? And that high-ranking government officials respect the will of the people. Maybe you should start by respecting the will of the people of Mojave Valley. I would suggest that you start by living out what you said in the article. In this very meeting shows that you do not believe what you have said. Your appointment of John Hassett to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then the subsequent contract for $1.1 million for medical examiner services. The question was brought up in his contract if it was a conflict of interest. If there's a question, it's a conflict. As the chairman of the Foster Care Review Board, if I know a person that we're going to speak about, it's a conflict for me. And then the fact that Mr. Hassett and Mr. Helms both, who have an inappropriate relationship in regards to MEC, they both sit on the executive board of the Chamber of Commerce with John Martell, who is the COO of MEC. Is that not a conflict of interest? I think it is. And then to watch the show that was put on by Mr. Hassett on October 9th was just a shame. It was a joke. There was no consideration of the people of Mojave Valley whatsoever. They had decided the outcome of that planning and zoning meeting before they ever walked in this room. And then the relationship between you and John Martell and Tyler Carlson, all a relationship of a promised rezone and amendment change to the general plan. The whole thing stinks. And then what about Mr. Hassett's horrible comment about our supervisor, Ron Gould, when he said F Ron Gould and his staff at a break at the Planning and Zoning Commission? Again, in your expose, Hildy, in Our Town magazine, you say that you're all for the people. But what people? Surely not the people of Mojave Valley. You've already disparaged and sold them off to the highest bidder. You don't care about the people. You care about your corporate friends at MEC and EPCO. And since we're on the subject, the big lie from Tyler Carlson and company at MEC, where they state in their brochure, it's been repeated by Mehdi Azarmi and Tom Brady, the ex-mayor of Bullhead, that had this peaker plant been up and running during the 2022 Labor Day monsoon, that the power would have never went off. With 140 poles on the ground, it surely would have gone off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Shoppers, and then Chris Shoppers, and then Jennifer Esposito.
James Scoppers, Mojave Valley. Our group that's opposed to the Mojave power zone has been accused by Mojave Electric and and EPCO of putting out misleading information. I can't think of anything that was misleading. All the stuff that we're getting from internet, from direct sources, including them. Their billboards state that the energy park, the local energy park that they're trying to get approved right now, is going to include solar, battery, and gas. And yet, none of that's on their application. If I was a plumber, owned a business for a long time, been in plumbing for a long time. If I came to you guys asking you for a permit to put in a plumbing business in Mojave County and I wanted 20 acres and I didn't tell you what I was doing with those 20 acres, I could put in whatever I want that falls under plumbing if you approve my application. Their application does not specifically say exactly what they're going to do, just that they're going to put in the energy park. I think they need to amend their application way before anything is even considered. My other issue is I would expect every member of this board to be open-minded when you have these meetings, when we come up here and talk, but it seems like the majority of everybody, including the people at the Planning and Zoning Council, walk into those meetings with their minds made up. It's obvious. We go there saying, don't do this, don't put in this power plant. Hundreds of us, thousands of petitions, and they go, nah, we'll approve it. They get 35 speakers against a private solar plant or a park being put in, and they vote for them, saying no. Their minds are made up before they go into those meetings. I think that's a problem. I really do. The stuff that they're putting out, noise levels, how much energy, how much water, all those statistics are for a brand new plant. All of those things are going to change with time. More noise, more pollution. It's an issue. We don't want it any more than Bullhead or Fort Mojave did. They should put it out beyond here where Mojave Electric has their grid. Put it past Kingman, put it away from people. They can do that. It might cost them a little more. That's it. It's about money.
Thank you. Chris Shoppers, then Jennifer Esposito, then Lori Dennison.
Good morning, Supervisors. Chris Scoppers, Mojave Valley. So I also want to speak with you and implore you to please do some of your own research and investigation on what's really being requested of us in Mojave Valley. So at this point, as of last night, we now have 2,035 petition signatures of people in opposition to this rezone of now potentially 273.5 acres in Mojave Valley to heavy manufacturing. You know, we have over 400 letters of opposition that have been sent to you. So the vast majority of Mojave Valley does not want this. We bought in Mojave Valley with the expectation, a legitimate expectation, that we were choosing a rural lifestyle. That's what we were investing in. And we had the right to do that. We had an expectation because that's the general plan. The general plan says it's suburban residential. So now to step in after we have all invested all of our time, money, blood, sweat, and tears into our homes and rezone this into heavy manufacturing, change it to urban development is just wrong. It is a violation of our property rights. And at the planning and zoning hearing, as my husband spoke, we felt that we were not heard. That how can MEC and EPCO, by the way, it was really an MEC presentation that was done, not even an EPCO presentation, and they actually, I thought, were the applicant. So that's interesting. They state on their website more information than they are required to supply on the planning and zoning application. Why is that? That's a disgrace for us as a county, isn't it? Shouldn't we have higher standards than what they're going to advertise on their website? So they speak of the 193 acres. They speak that they're going to put 85 of those allocated to the gas power plant and that they intend to use all of that property. Why are not we requiring more explanation of exactly what they're going to do with that land? How many peaker plants? And make a commitment to that. And they have said nothing on their application about the lithium battery storage facilities, yet it's on their website, it's on their billboards. This is a huge issue. You'd have to be living under a rock to not have heard about all the lithium fires. So you want to put multiple gas peaker plants, multiple lithium battery storage facilities, and put that all behind and around established existing neighborhoods, about 2,300 homes. It's a disaster.
Thank you. Jennifer, then Lori Dennison, and then Glenda Webb.
Jennifer Esposito, Kingman. Why isn't this working? Lovely. I don't know. There it goes. Special treat for you this morning. I thought you might enjoy this. New publication. We reach 10,000 people every month. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life. In a world that keeps on pushing me around, but I'll stand my ground. And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down. 10,000 copies on the street, Kingman, Golden Valley, Valley Vista. If you do the right thing, you won't be in here. If you do the wrong thing, count on it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Lori Dennison, then Glenda Webb.
Lori Dennison, Bullhead City. What's up, Hildy? We had a nice chat at the Smartin Final. So, as you can see, I'm here in opposition to the peaker plant. And, Hildy, you might remember when we were kids, there was a song by Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. You know, being a young and idealistic kid, I thought, who would want to do a thing like that? Or in this case, pave paradise and put up a peaker plant. So, for those who worship at the altar of progress, one person's paradise is someone else's natural resource to exploit. You know, sure, I like my affordable, reliable electricity from MEC, but not at the expense of my friends, who are literally traumatized at seeing their social contract with the county going right out the window. And now, I get that the Mojave Valley location seems reasonable from the standpoint of going a little farther out into the desert and a little further away from the homes. And I've been out to the site, and while it seems remote, it does seem remote, according to EPA standards and the GAO report, it's still not remote enough. And some of you might think that they're overreacting over misinformation, but the people of Mojave Valley are catastrophizing the worst case scenario and Murphy's Law, and understandably so, because the very fact that this project is even a thing boggles the mind. Everything about this project from the get-go has been sketchy and suspect. And to this day, the good people of Mojave Valley, having this abomination forced upon them, have yet to receive the assurances that they need from APAC and MEC to even begin to apprehend making peace with it. And as our Board of Supervisors, does this really sit well with you? And given our vast expanse of desert, how is it not possible to secure a suitable site at least 3 miles away from the nearest residence? And what happened to the general plan? Which begs the question, what will Mojave Valley look like 20 years from now? As our Board of Supervisors, we call upon you to really think this through, because this is going to be your legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glenda? Glenda, you've asked for another couple of minutes. Are you reading a statement? I'll give you 5 minutes altogether.
Hi, I'm Glenda Webb. I'm from Mojave Valley. This is my statement. My daughter and I were having a discussion about the peaker plants that they were trying to put into Mojave Valley. She said, well, there must be government regulations that they will follow to keep the plants from harming you. So I did some research. A peaker plant with 100 megawatts of power have restrictions for what percentage of pollution and the issues that go into the area. A 49 megawatt power plant, which they're planning on putting this in this area, have no federal, state, or local county requirements for pollution that can harm the people in this valley. That is why these companies are hell-bent on moving into this area. In other advertisements, the thought of endorsing a no enforcement policy for clean air and water standards would be the worst things that you can do in the area. Why is this not a fact in the issue concerning Mojave Valley? You have already been told by the government study of how difficult and harmful these plants are. Since this is your last year on the board, you have more freedom to do your decisions. If you make a bad decision, someone else has to rectify the problem. What possible lawsuits could come from this? Because you've endorsed the developments of an unrestricted polluting energy plant in our homeland, Mojave Valley. You took this job of county supervisors years ago to help the development and betterment of Mojave County. Somehow, all of your good intentions are gone. Your legacy of your past position will go down as how you helped to change this beautiful valley to look like the sky of LA. Remember, when you come from LA into this area down I-40, you can see 65 miles to Boundary Cone, and you see nice, clear skies. If these plants come in, you will see gray pollution. You can change your decision to stop this process. God bless you with your decision. The other part of this is all of you just came down from the Bullhead City area, a lot of you did, and have noticed that there's gray skies everywhere. And that's from the fire that's over in the Chopac region. And so that's what goes here from Jana. Okay. She says, when I bought my property, I never dreamed I would have a battle with anyone for the very reason I looked here in the first place, agriculturally zoned, all rural lifestyle living. In my morning prayer, I thank our Holy Father God for placing me in a small, quiet country neighborhood with all the mindful, peaceful people that are raised on values that our founding fathers set upon the very country. This is a happy, humble little ranch that I built, and I'm home. Now there is a looming threat to it all. I spent the past 21 years riding the roads behind my property and enjoying the wildlife I would never have seen on foot or off vehicle because she has a horse. All that I said before were most of the wildlife will not hide from another animal heading down a nearby trail. I'm quite certain, however, they would not remain in the area of something that appears as monstrous enemy as the instinct wise enough to flee from the safe ground in other parts of the joy I take are gone. I spent a great part of my retirement income on staying as healthy as I can, coming from California. I've always appreciated the cleaner air in Mojave Valley. Everyone that has lived in this valley for any length of time knows that the air right above us gets caught in a circular vacuum, and the clouds have been known to circle back above us and produce rains over and over again in the same system. There's no reason to believe that this pollution suggests that the plants will not do the same. It just may take several years before we know exactly how much damage they do, and it's quite a large risk that I take. I already know that near me won't work. It appears very obvious that the money that you make off this project is greater than the respect and concerns you have for our constituents. With those not returning to the board and those on my own conscience, you will have to answer to. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, and it looks like it's starting to be in my own backyard. Thank you for listening, and I will continue to pray for the rezoning fail, and God bless you with the mercy. Thank you.
James Jones, please.
Can we turn that? How's that? Okay. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is James, Sovereign from Kingman. Just wanted to bring something to your attention and to the sheriff's attention. But first of all, I'd like to make sure that you understand I'm pro-police and pro-sheriff. I believe in law and order. But what I see here in this picture of a SWAT team in Bullhead City is right here. Now I understand that's a multi-purpose type of weapon, but its main focus in the service is a grenade launcher. But it can be used for other things as well. I don't have enough time to explain all of it. But this concerns me of the militarization of our local forces. And I know we're in perilous times, and I know it's a 50-50 deal. We do have laws called posse comitatus that has been ignored many, many times and still being ignored. And posse comitatus is the power of the county. Our sheriff has a lot of power. And I want to bring it to the attention of the board that just recently, in the last week or so, on top of what I see here, which is disturbing to me, in the DOD, Department of Defense, Directive 5240.01, Section 3.3A2, has given authority for all military, mostly those that are in the intelligence, to actually violate the Constitution in a posse comitatus, and that's to actually give the any activities that they're involved in lethal force. Now, in a certain circumstance, I understand that this may be necessary, insurrections and so on and so forth, but before an election, 2 or 3 weeks before the election, this comes about and concerns me, and I think that we should be, as a county, aware of what could happen with the wrong people taking this way too far. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the call to public. Anyone would like to respond? I want to say something. It's been said a couple of times and in the past that I and some others on this board are making money from MEC or APCO. That's categorically untrue. Just saying it does not mean it's true. And so I want that on the record as these accusations keep being on the record. Thank you. Have the consent agenda. The following items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items unless a board member so requests. Supervisor Johnson? Supervisor Gould?
Strangely enough, nothing today, Madam Chair.
Okay. Supervisor Bishop?
Nothing.
And Supervisor Lilienfeld?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Wow, but I do have one request that was for item 19. So I need a motion to approve consent agenda, items number 5 through 33, minus item 19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item 19 is to set a public hearing on December 2nd to consider and adopt a new modified fee schedule. Mr. James Jones? Is he still here?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so we're going to be arguing about setting a public hearing? That's all.
No, well, I'm gonna hear him and then we'll tell him what's going on here. Okay.
I don't think that there should be any kind of consideration of raising any kind of fees whatsoever.
Okay, Mr. Jones, what we're saying is this is just to set a public hearing. So when we set the public hearing, you can come back and specifically tell us what it is about. Because this item is just to set the public hearing. Nothing about the fees or anything like that.
But it's going to be talking about it.
We're going to be talking about it when it hits the public hearing. You'll be free like we do every public hearing, and I appreciate you coming forward. I just wanted to make sure you understood. Thank you, Supervisor Johnson.
Madam Chair. Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, we have our public hearings. I'm opening the public hearing, item 34, and that is discussion possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2024-201, which is a rezone to allow for an RV park in Golden Valley vicinity, and it was continued from our October 7th, 2024 Board of Supervisor meeting. We do have some people signed up. Twyla Donaldson.
Morning, my name is Twyla Donaldson and I do live in the Golden Valley area. I'm here once again for myself and the homeowners around this property to oppose the placement of this RV park. We did have the chance to meet with the landowner, John Brandt, on Thursday on site, and although he did address some of our concerns of traffic and noise control, we did ask him for a good faith written document of what he actually had planned, and he declined. In regards to the traffic and noise control, whether he puts the mobile homes or RVs all the way to Mazatal or to the back of the businesses really doesn't make a big difference as far as the traffic and the noise. He suggested that he would put the entrance to the park right behind Tire Works. Tire Works individuals have a concern that that will impede on their customers coming and going off of their lot, and that he would put the exit behind El Cafe. And her concerns was that that's where her children play, and so she has a concern about that. So these two businesses, he does have property right across the street on 68 that as us as homeowners feel that that might be a better location. It's already fenced. It has easy access off and on 68, and it still could benefit from the few restaurants and stores that are on there. So, and another issue was that he is now considering to have storage of boats and our dirt vehicles and stuff. So that definitely would add to the congestion and the noise. He did state that for the noise that he would try to put up a barrier. And the only thing that I caution him about is he had stated that he might use oleander bushes. And unfortunately, oleander bushes are very toxic to wildlife and domestic animals. So again, we just feel that our opposition still stands. There will be access to sewer lines where they can dump their sewer, which is still a concern of ours. And we did buy in this area to have large acreage for our animals and property. So we urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Jenna Harvey, and then Philip Robinson.
Good morning. Jenna Harvey, 4115 West Matazal. This proposed plan is in my front yard. There's been a lot of talk amongst all of us. I think we've brought a lot of valid cases, situations to the board, issues that we have with noise pollution, light pollution. Traffic is a huge issue there already, and it's going to be worse when you're going to be taking 50 to 60 foot vehicles when you take a truck and a trailer. The entrances and exits, the ingresses and egresses to this are not suitable to these types of vehicles. They are dirt roads. We've asked what will be done to take care of that for us, for the dust and the noise. Mr. Brandt, you know, he has a vision. He and Ms. Hicks have talked about the vision and how they think this is just perfect for this little utopia RV park because it can be behind these restaurants and the bar and they can all walk and it's great. But what about our vision? What about the vision that all of us had when we moved out here? We purposely bought single-family residence on large pieces of property so that we could have this rural setting. And though I understand and have been told that this particular piece of property was in the general plan for a commercial property at some point, we don't believe that 4.5 acres where you're going to pack a minimum of 30 people, you talk couples, you're talking 60. Mr. Brandt has told us that he would like this to be for an elderly park, but he doesn't want to spend the money or the time and jump through all the hoops and the red tape to make it a 55 and over park. He stated that it will be long-term, but what all of us need to realize is that long-term means tenants. Tenants typically have more rights than we do. So talk about getting all those tenants out of there when they're unruly or not following the rules. Mr. Brandt doesn't live in the state. He won't be there to watch it. Yes, he'll have a manager on site, but I guess what I'm having a hard time with is Mr. Brandt's utopia is something that we all need to see, the vision, but nobody's considering our vision. Nobody's considering why we invested in these properties versus these people who will be renters. It is not an investment for them. They are merely staying there or passing through. There's a lot of safety concerns that we have because there's no, as we as stated, nothing in writing to a good faith plan to tell us that the dangers that we are concerned about won't be there. They won't exist. Also, there's some issues with these are RV parks. They dump all kinds of septic chemicals into the septic system. There's also 2 huge washes that roll down this road. Those will also be a concern.
Thank you. Philip Robinson, and then we'll go, let's see, Jennifer Esposito.
Morning, Supervisors. Philip Robinson, Golden Valley. I want to start off on the last meeting we had here. The lady said that only the 300-foot people away from this project should have a voice. That's wrong. I live in that community. Totally. Second thing, I'm representing, like last time, John and Francine from El Cafe, which I also work at. They're against this. One simple reason, too much more traffic. They did a study. Yes, they did. For 3 hours, peak hours. But over the weekend, and John's got a very good video camera. We counted 37 cars within 6 hours going up and down those roads. That's a lot, mainly going to the beer joint. And I don't know about the people over what kind of camera system the tire store does, but he's one of my clients or customers, and I can ask him. Their peak hour is a joke. Why can't they do a road survey as like the county does? I don't agree with it. I agree with all the people there so far. John and Francine do too. We got to get away from this building up Golden Valley. We moved out there for a rural area. Since I've been here for 30 years, we have been to 3 general plans. Every time we've had a general plan and 2 economic developments, which Gene Bishop has been in. We have always said 1 acre minimum. We don't care what you do on your 1 acre. Build a garage, build a house. Nothing small and stacked up on each other. That's not right. That's not Golden Valley, and it won't be Golden Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Jennifer here? Did she leave? Okay. Is she standing outside? Okay. Well, we're just going to go ahead. Next, Kathy Tackett-Hicks.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Supervisors. My name is Kathy Tackett-Hicks. I'm acting as the owner's agent. The owner is also here. Last meeting, we had a discussion. You did allow me a couple weeks to have a on-site meeting, which I did. I notified the 300-foot surrounding property owners. The majority of all the opposition is outside the 300-foot opposition. They did not get a letter, but several people, about 27 people, did show up to that meeting, and I thought it was pretty good. There was a tremendous amount of questions asked. We were able to answer them. There's a big difference in opinion on that site, and the few individuals here are adamantly opposed to it still, which is fine. But I do want to present the other side, and I did provide a copy of the public participation report. The group in general, there's probably 3 or 4 major issues that they were concerned about. Vehicle traffic trips is one of those. And I'm sorry, but the gentleman here does not understand vehicle trips because 35 vehicles in a day is nothing. And those roads are designed to handle hundreds per day. And what we said on an engineer's review of the vehicle traffic trips was that the traffic generated from this site would be at peak hours, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon, about 10 additional vehicle trips, which in the scope of things is nothing. That is very minimal. We still have to work with the county on what types of improvements will be required for that, but the vehicle trip generation from this site is very, very minimal. In addition, I think one of their biggest concerns, well, they had two major concerns. One of them had to do with the short-term versus long-term tenants for this. They're very concerned about the security, about whether or not the manager can control the people in there. This is a 29-space RV park. It is very small in terms of RV parks. One of those spaces would be for the on-site manager. Currently, the property owner, Mr. Brandt, owns manufactured home parks with hundreds of clients and residents. He does require background checks for everybody coming in, and so he'll be up here soon. You're welcome to ask him any questions on that. But that's the best way that we can move forward with trying to make sure that the people that come into the park are, don't have felonies, are of somewhat reasonable character. Each one of the RVs would allow for 2 individuals to live there, and both of those would have background checks. So I think we're doing the best in that way. In terms of, what else? We did talk a lot about infrastructure and the ability of that property to support this proposal. And when I look at stuff, this general plan designation was for commercial. It is for commercial right now. Can I please have one more?
One moment.
I looked at all of the infrastructure. This would have a central septic system, which is critical. There's existing water. There's already there, Valley Pioneer. There's a fire hydrant there, which is the best thing that we can do to address fires in that area. And lastly, I believe this is an outstanding use as a buffer land use between the commercial on 68, and we have Mr. Brandt's property for a quasi-commercial residential use butting up to the residential on the other side. I think it's an outstanding buffer area. I would ask you to please approve it, and you could also condition it on a long-term requirement for a minimum 30-day space lease, which will limit the transient population.
Okay, thank you. We're still in the public hearing if we have questions for you after
gotcha.
we close the public hearing. All right, so Jennifer, you're back.
Thank you, Chairman Angus. Originally, at the last meeting, when this came up, I was undecided on this project, but I have been told some additional information that concerns me. At the last meeting, we were told that this was or at the Planning and Zoning, one of the meetings, the story keeps changing. Is this a overnight stay only park? Is this a long-term park? The woman who just spoke told this board that the property owner had other RV parks, and then I find out that he has mobile home parks, not RV parks. So I think that this thing, it seems to be a little bit of, like when you have the 3 cups and the little ball and you just kind of keep moving stuff around, hope nobody notices what you're doing. Several of the local residents told me that they've been told various versions of what this project will be, depending on the questions that they ask. And I don't think that it's very concrete. Having driven around there, like I said, the median needs to go because the length of an RV pulling in, if it is just for overnight stays, there's nowhere to turn around. I mean, that horrible median that Mr. Elters designed for ADOT down the middle of the highway causes a lot of issues, even with first responders and things having to turn around. But having driven an RV cross country, I can barely, as I'm out delivering newspapers, get turned around and go back the other way to get to the next restaurant or the next hair salon. I can't imagine if I was driving my RV. It would be an absolute traffic nightmare. I don't care if it's 15 in the morning, 15 at night. I don't care if it's 5 in the morning, 5 at night. It's a traffic hazard. So for that reason alone, I oppose it. But I think that there should be a stipulation, if you guys do move forward with this, that if the property is subsequently sold and not developed by the out-of-state property owner, that it revert back to the existing zoning, so that there isn't some kind of a, gee, I'm going to do it and then build it or sell it to someone else, that if this person's going to see it and follow it through, fine, but if not, then I think that there should be a stipulation put on it that it reverts back. But I think that there needs to be absolute in writing clarification. Is this a long-term park? Is this a short-term overnight park? Because if it's a long-term park, we don't know what kind of people will be living there long-term. And the people that I spoke to in that neighborhood have concerns about that. We have multiple RV parks in Golden Valley, and none of them are full. So it's not like there's a need for, quote, affordable housing, which is the excuse that I hear from everybody all the time. We need affordable housing. Well, I'm all for RVs. I'm all for people living in RVs. But when there's already plenty of room for that, why add more when this is not clear? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Brandt, I believe you're the applicant.
Honorable Chair and Supervisors, my name is John Brandt. I'm on P.O. Box 21666, Bullhead City. I'm the owner and applicant of this RV park that's in question. We're a mom and pop RV park. My wife's setting up there. The mobile home parks that we've built, the two of us, we're not a big corporation. We're mom and pop. The reason for choosing this location, you've heard this many times, is that we like the convenience of the neighbors next door, have a cafe, someplace to drink a cold one in the afternoon, and they don't have to get out and drive. They can go ahead and I'll put a keypad gate between us because I have a 20-foot right-of-way, and that way they can do what they want. And I'm all for the 30-day restriction. I'm not into the overnighters. It's not something that we planned on doing or want to. We want to do more of a pull your house in there or your RV in there, and if you end up leaving your home there, we'll give you a deal if you do the 6-month to a year leases, because we want to limit the amount of people with pulling RVs in and out. So if we have a 30-day type situation, well, if you add up the numbers, there are not going to be one RV a day coming in or out of there at any time because it's a 30-day increments. And also, we've checked for affordable, she's already used that, affordable housing, but basically we were looking into nurses, traveling nurses. There's a need for it in that area, that are units that are already ready to rock and roll, they got silverware, bedding, everything like that for temporary people. Most of them stay from 30 days to 90 days. And they called furnished finders. And the other one, if approved, I'd like to invite the sheriff's department to a free lot that they could set up a kind of a satellite post and leave it within the park. And then that way, basically, that'll help us, that'll help the community, because there's a lot of negative crime in that area and stuff. So maybe more presence of the sheriff department, stuff like that, being in our park. I think that would be an honor that we had something like that, and I'd like to work with them about putting a unit in for them for their use. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else before I close the public hearing? Anyone? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Questions from the board? You want to call anyone back up? All right, then I will need a motion.
Chairman Angus, this RV park is in my district, Golden Valley, and we've heard a lot from Golden Valley residents. I don't know that it's the majority of the residents, but they're not wanting affordable housing from what we're hearing from the vocal people that attend our meetings. But affordable housing is a necessity, and not everybody can afford an acre to live on or a house. Our society is going to RVs as permanent residences, and I think this idea of a long-term RV park will assist in that endeavor. So with that being said, I will make a motion that we approve the long-term RV park as described, and add the stipulation that it be a minimum of 30 days.
Okay. I'll need a second, but before that, just a little discussion, if I may. There was Mr. Brandt, can you come up again, please? There was a question about, like, there was all this different information, and that's what happens in our county. A lot of bad information goes around. So why don't you, on the record, tell everybody what this is going to be, what is your intention, what it's not going to be?
Well, there's a lot of seniors. I'm not poking at seniors because a lot of people retire early in life. They don't have to wait till they're 55, 65 to become a senior. And what I want to do or what I'd like to do on this is create a safe haven for them to leave their RVs, because they're like me, they're getting old, they hurt in the joints and this, that, and everything, but they can't really drive those big rigs anymore. But if they had some place to store them that's safe, people watching over them, then...
Yeah, I think we're going off what I meant.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. So the question is, long-term or short-term? The what we had in front of us is, it could be just an overnight, but is that okay with you if we go to 30 days? Is that in your vision?
I'm in favor. That's what I suggested in the beginning, because I don't want to do under 30 days. I don't want to deal with the overnighters. I don't want to deal with all the hassle, the noise that everybody else says it'll create. So no, I'm in favor of the 30 days and more.
Okay. All right. Well, I brought you back up. Does anybody else have questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Supervisor Lingenfelter.
I have one question of Public Works Director Latosky, not of the applicant.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good morning, Director Latosky. Within the staff recommendation, it does say that there's an RV park plan that has to be prepared in accordance with RV parks and a site plan. And I know that as a part of those, it goes through the transportation, safety and mobility aspects of those. Can you, for the folks that are here, discuss sort of how that goes through, how they interface with your department? If they're going to be going out onto State Route 68, obviously they're going to have to comply with any requirements that ADOT puts on them as well. Can you just give a general overview of that and how, specifically the concerns for the mobility and the safety for transportation?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, members of the board, Supervisor Lingenfelter, when a site plan is presented to Public Works for review, Public Works inherently examines and evaluates the site plan against the adopted zoning ordinance requirements. However, on the transportation side, we will look and compare the intensity of the development and the type of development against our adopted traffic impact analysis standards. There's two types of transportation analyses. One, the actual full-blown standards where a traffic impact analysis may be required, but there's also a traffic impact statement, and that helps us at least gauge, and we will interact with their site engineer and at least understand what type of traffic is being generated. We want to know the frequency of the traffic. We also want to know the type of the traffic. So if they're larger trucks, larger RVs, we'd like to know that, because we will look at that in the context of the possible impacts to the surface that's maintained. Because Mojave County, the Public Works Department, does maintain all three adjacent roadways. They're all unsurfaced roadways. So as it relates to ADOT's involvement, we do look at them as a separate stakeholder. We want them to be a separate stakeholder looking at the traffic and transportation. So Development Services will reach out to them and also inform them of that site plan and adjacent development. But sometimes we do have some conversations between Public Works and ADOT, but we do respect, and we also ask that they respect our own independent evaluation on the transportation type impacts of the development.
So ADOT is going to be a part of this process then?
That usually comes through the Development Services Department in informing ADOT of an adjacent, a commercial site development such as this.
I think I heard one of the speakers that provided testimony today say that the applicant did do some version of a traffic impact study. I heard something like 36 or 37 cars over a 6-hour period or something like that. They obviously have to present that data to you, and then as the Director of Public Works, you either accept that or you say no, that there needs to be a little bit more analysis provided on this. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Lingenfelter, yes, you described it more or less along the ways that we operate. There is a nationally accepted set of traffic generation data. However, in cases like this, especially these type of unique developments, especially if there was a 30-day minimum stay attached to the RV slips, that may change and actually invite us to have more direct dialogue with the applicant and their engineer on the site-specific traffic generation. We may even ask for some comparative data from similar operating sites.
I appreciate it. I think that when it comes to safety mobility of projects, you are very good at what you do as far as a technical standpoint. So the safety concerns, if there's children playing around the area or something like that, that does resonate with me. So I trust that you'll make sure that whatever ingress, egress happens is the best it can be. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, anything else from the board? We have a motion. I need a second. We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, back to, we have another public hearing. I'm opening the public hearing. Discussion and possible action. Approve the Mojave County Sheriff's Office request to update video recording fees as follows: $11.50 for 15 minutes of video, $23 for 30 minutes of video, $34.50 for 45 minutes of video, and $46 per 1 hour of video. The one-time fee per copy shall not exceed $46 per video reviewed. I have one person, Scotty McClure. You're okay? Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to the regular agenda, number 36. This is to approve exceptions to the general fund hiring freeze. If you can please keep it down as you leave the auditorium, please.
Motion to approve,
Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 37, discussion and possible action to approve the Board of Supervisors authorization for maintenance and operation of the 15 outside bank accounts listed in the backup material. Mr. Mornian.
Good morning, Chairman Angus and board members. Be happy to answer any questions about this, or I can give you an overview of the process that led to this agenda item.
Does anybody want more, like the whole explanation?
Sure, let's hear what
okay,
Mr.
bring it
Morgan
on.
has to say.
Okay, so basically, one of the pieces of guidance that we use managing the county's finances is the Uniform Accounting Manual for Arizona counties. We refer that to as the UMAC. And basically in there it says that any sort of clearing accounts, which we refer to as outside bank accounts, must be approved by the Board of Supervisors before they are opened. And so in review of the accounts, there's 32 in total. And beginning in July, we reached out to all the county departments, asked them to confirm any outside bank accounts that they have in use. The method that we asked for that confirmation is what's called a blank confirmation. So basically we said, here, Department X, give us a list of your accounts. We didn't provide the account information that we had in our records, so we just asked them to confirm. And it generally provides a greater level of assurance when you do it that way, because they can't simply rely on the information that you send out to them. So the departments all replied. We did a reconciliation during August and September, bumping up what they submitted to us against the records that the Financial Services Department already had. And out of those 32 bank accounts, we identified 15 for which there was no proof of documentation that the board had approved that account being opened whenever it was opened. And some of these accounts go back 20, 25 years. And so what I'm doing today is just requesting that the board give authorization for those 15 accounts so that we do have documentation on record. In addition to asking the departments to give us a list of accounts that they had in use, we also asked them to provide a description of what the account was used for and justification for why it needed to remain open. Just want to give a little bit more information, as far as the definition of a clearing account, and this comes from the UMAC. So it's an account used to accumulate debits or credits for the purpose of distributing them later among the accounts to which they're allocable, or for the purpose of transferring the net differences to the proper account. And so we have a number of reasons that an outside bank account would be in use. Most commonly, it's either needed due to business operations taking place in an area that's geographically distant from the county treasurer's office, where, as you all know, departments come and make deposits with the county treasurer. And so what happens is the funds are collected and deposited at the local bank via that outside bank account, and then they're deposited with the treasurer periodically. And the most typical frequency of that is once a month after they do a monthly bank reconciliation. Just as an example, finance has an outside bank account, a payroll clearing account. And so what we do each payroll cycle, we transfer the gross amount of the payroll into that account. And then from there, those funds are distributed to all the employee accounts via direct deposit. And so that's kind of just a good example of in operation how a clearing account works. So with that, if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Lingenfelter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking on the list of departments, I'm wondering, do all of those departments have statutory authority to open up an outside account, or is there a policy they should go through? I know that I see a lot of the constable offices have opened up independent outside accounts. What's the process for opening up a county-related account?
Supervisor Lingenfelter, that's a great question. So the guidance that we have in the UMAC says that the board is the one that is supposed to approve an outside bank account being opened. And so typically if a department wants to open an account, they should be approaching finance, and then that if we determine that that is a legitimate use and a legitimate need, that would be brought in front of the board for the board's authorization and approval.
So you're saying that there were accounts that were opened that did not follow that process?
Supervisor Lingenfelter, what I'm saying is that we don't have a record of the documentation. Due to the age of some of these accounts...
That sounds like political speak.
Well, due to the age of some of these accounts, I can't tell you whether, 25, 30 years ago, if the account was brought before the board or not. More likely than not, it's a combination of the two.
So they either didn't ask or there's poor record keeping, is what you're saying?
That is a possibility.
That's a possibility? That's what happened. Sorry, I get frustrated with political speak. I know that. All right. So is there a policy going forward as far as, I know that you said that the finance department has the guide, but is there a county policy that says, hey, if you need an outside account, these are the steps you have to go through in order to get that approved and open?
Supervisor Lingenfelter, there's no policy. We can certainly draft one up and push it out to the departments or bring it back to the board for approval.
Do you think it's a good idea to have a policy?
Absolutely.
I think so too. That's all I've got.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Supervisor John.
The only, the list you have here are the ones that you want to approve. You don't have a list of the ones that you showed no documentation for?
Supervisor Johnson, so the list that was included in the backup is all 15 accounts that we don't have any documentation on record for. So none of these are new accounts. These are all accounts that are already in existence, in use today by various county departments. So what we're asking is for the board approval so that we do have that documentation on record that is in compliance with the guidance from the UMAC.
So how many in total will we have?
We have 32 in total, and 15 of those we don't have documentation that the board approved them.
You can send us all the total list?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yes, Supervisor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Director Moynihan, it seems like you could consolidate some of those accounts. I really don't see why the constables need their own accounts since they work out of the Justice Court. And I don't think they have the volume of checks that would really require their own account. And I think that every one of these accounts is a security risk. So the less accounts that we have, the better off that we are. And we also need to draft a county policy that spells out if you want an outside account, how do you go about it?
Supervisor Gould, as it pertains to the constables, they operate in different geographic districts. And so, I'd use North Canyon as an example, and Constable Hogard up there. It's not exactly feasible for him to drive down to Kingman each time he needs to make a deposit with the county treasurer's office, on a day-to-day basis. And so that's one of the situations where I'm saying if they're geographically distant from the county treasurer's office where they need to make those deposits, it makes sense to have a clearing account like that.
The other constables pick their paperwork up from the court, I believe.
I'm not
going in and out of the courthouse all the time.
I believe so, Supervisor Gould.
Okay, yes. Let's go with Supervisor Bishop, because you spoke.
Thank you, Chairman Angus. As a former constable, I can tell you that every service typically requires a deposit into the bank account for that constable. Many of those services require a refund check being written, and then at the end of the month, the fees are deposited with the county treasurer. So if they needed to go to the treasurer's office to get a refund check or do banking business through another account, it would be problematic and time consuming. I disagree with the other supervisor. I think those accounts are necessary in order to do the job of a constable.
Sir?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only comment I was going to make, sort of piggybacked off of what Supervisor Gould was saying. It looks like all of the constables are using Wells Fargo Bank. So, if they all are depositing and using the same account number. And also, I just don't understand, maybe in the policy, shouldn't procurement be involved or something to, are they just going and picking whatever bank they want? Because there's several different types of banks. There's one bank I've never heard of on this, so it'd be good to have a policy to make this a little more streamlined.
Supervisor Lingenfelter, so the procurement department is involved with the procurement of the county's banking contract with Wells Fargo, as with our current county bank. Some departments or some districts, I'll use the example of fire districts, for instance. They're permitted by statute to have an outside bank account, like a payroll clearing account. Those aren't on the list that we have here because they're not county bank accounts. But some of the court departments, they have their own guidance. It's referred to in the backup that essentially they felt that authorizes them to have the account opened. I felt differently, which is why they're included in the list that's in front of you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
The Justice Court apparently has the same account number as the Attorney Bad Check Program.
Those are just the last 4 digits of the account number, Supervisor Gould. I didn't want to include the entire account number in the backup.
Interesting. That seems kind of random, or lack of random, actually.
I noticed the same thing, and I can tell you they are 2 completely different account numbers. I double-checked that.
And if Supervisor Bishop will yield for a question.
Sure.
The constable writes checks back to people that hired them to go service things?
They do routinely.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
The reason for that is, supervisor, is the constable doesn't know how many attempts he's going to be required to make to get that service completed. So it may be 1 or 2 services. So they may need to bill the person additional fees or refund if they've overpaid.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Just one question, Chairman Angus,
Yes.
for Supervisor Lingenfelter. How quickly would you like this policy brought back to the board?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
that's nowhere on our agenda or anything like that. I think that, if another supervisor or myself wants to put that on another agenda, we can do that, but
Okay. Thank you. I have 3 people signed up for this. Is there anything that you haven't learned from our exchanges? Anyone still want to talk to this? I have Scotty, Pastor Roy Hagemeyer, and Jennifer Esposito.
Scotty from Bullhead. I remember when I asked for an audit of the fairgrounds. Kind of got it. At least we got rid of the board there. I'm kind of going to ask for another audit here. I'm going to use the word embezzlement, and that's all I'm going to say about that. This is so ripe for that. I hope it isn't happening. How in the heck have we been having an audit? You pay a company thousands of dollars to do an audit, and we don't know what the heck. There's 15 accounts out there with just... Let me ask you some questions here. Who are the signatories on these accounts? By whose authority did they present some sort of authorization to the bank to set up a government or corporate account? Is our audit firm, are they aware of this? Apparently not. Who gets the monthly statements? Will they go on file 13, the garbage can? And by the way, the banks can go back to day one. They keep statements. If it's 91, 92, 93, you can go back that far if you had somebody that you hire as an auditor to do this. What electronic banking apps, anyway, authorized employees ought to be able to do things on their computers to deposit funds into the county's account and note description and sub-account. Ron, how do these accounts fit into the $18.5 million that we were in the hole last year? Did that account for any of these? Which we were never in the hole anyway. How can Luke create a budget when we have no idea where or how much or money exists in county accessible accounts? How can you set up an account? We have no idea where the money exists. They have to be closed. They can't be a best practice since they've been asking departments internally for months if they have these accounts. Everyone writes a treasurer checks. The treasurer knows about them. Wells Fargo is not the best bank out there. They're probably the cheapest. If you were with Bank of America, you'd be another $1 million in the hole. But this is just...
Can't find a Bank of America.
Oh, Bank of America, please don't go there. Oh, they are expensive. I was on a school board for 9 years and they shut down our bank.
Please keep this to our agenda item.
Yeah, okay. You want to see my tax bill? My 8-cent tax bill again? You don't want to see that?
Come to my office. Come to my office. We'll talk about your tax bill.
I wouldn't come in your office for nothing.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right. All right. Who's up? Jennifer? Or Pastor?
Roy Hagemeyer, Mojave Valley. Let me start with this. Isaiah 123, your princes are rebels and companions of thieves. Everyone loves a bribe and runs after gifts. They do not bring justice to the faithless. The widow's cause does not come to them. First of all, I want to thank Supervisor Ligenfelter for his comments. Questions that I have: who opened these accounts? When did they open them? Does anyone know how much is in these accounts? How much money has been embezzled so far? Because we don't even know what's going on out there. How does this man who is the finance guy have a clue how to do a budget for y'all when he doesn't even know where the money's at? In all my years, I worked for major corporations that were far bigger than this county. And if these things had been happened in those corporations, people would have been fired immediately. The only purpose I can even remotely see for having these is to hide something or to take something that doesn't belong to them. This is a government entity, and we have absolutely no oversight of what we're doing here. How did the bank account open without proper authorized signatures? How did it get open without this board approving it? We just heard that 15 of them have no board approval out of the 32 that are open. Did they use the county's EIN number? Who was aware that this was taking place? Was the finance manager aware? Was the county manager aware? You know, this is a complete and total lack of oversight. This is a complete failure. And if they were aware and they approved of such thing, they should be terminated immediately. This is a perfect example of why we, the people, do not trust our government. All of these bank accounts are, who knows where they're at? They're not part of a budget. But let me close with something else. Ecclesiastes 5:8. If you see in a province the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness, do not be amazed at the matter, for the high official is watched by a higher, and they are yet higher ones over them. God help us.
Before you come up, there were some accusations made about finance department. Would you like to respond to any of them? This is what happens when you don't have all the information. Everybody goes to the worst areas.
Chairman Angus, board members, I will just say, as far as the funds that are in these accounts, bank reconciliations are performed monthly. They are submitted to finance. And so if there are checks being written, money's being deposited, there's a record of all of that. We review those bank reconciliations. So as far as allegations of embezzlement or malfeasance, they're baseless.
So basically, these are acted on like any of the outside. It's just when you were looking into and they didn't have the right paperwork from the beginning, for whatever reason.
Chairman
from boards
Angus.
from decades ago.
Chairman Angus, that is correct. So I certainly wasn't aware of an account that was open 25 years ago because I was not the finance director 25 years ago. My intent of bringing this to the board is to be fully transparent and to make sure that we do have the proper documentation in place. As soon as I found out that we did not, I put it on a board agenda after we had conducted a thorough investigation to make sure that I was giving you all of the information.
Thank you. Thank you for doing what several finance directors before you didn't do. So thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I
Does
offer?
anyone from the board want to say anything?
Sure. Luke, do we have any way of knowing whether people have bank accounts open other than these?
Supervisor.
They went out and, because if I was going to embezzle money, that's one way that people do it, is they'll open an account that they have with a similar name, that they have access to those checks, that they can divert them and then put them into this account that they've set up.
Supervisor Gould, you are correct. That is tack that a bad actor would need to take. I am not 100% sure if we have a way of seeing if there's been accounts opened under the, on all banks under the county's EIN. So I could certainly look into that to find out if there is a way that we could definitively say, under the county's EIN, our list of bank accounts includes all of the bank accounts. We do have an annual audit that was referred to as well. Auditors, either from the Arizona Auditor General's office or from audit firms that they contract with, an audit is not intended to provide 100% guarantee of, that there's nothing incorrect in the financial statements or that there is no fraud or anything like that. Audits, I was an auditor before. Audits are intended to provide some level of assurance. They follow a standard set of procedures. There are standards on how each one of those procedures are carried out. But an audit does not give you 100% guarantee against anything. That's why the auditor's opinion is very carefully crafted language. If you read the audit letters, that's really all I can say on that. They are constrained by the same constraints that we have: time and resources. They have a certain amount of time and a certain amount of resources to dedicate to each county's annual audit. They do what they can. I think they do a pretty damn good job.
Are you done? Any other questions? Mr. Mournian, there's been some high-profile embezzlements in Arizona. One was here in Kingman, actually, and it was done just like that. They're always done that way, right? So there's one big one now in Santa Cruz, $40 million by the treasurer. And so I'm assuming that everyone's watching that to see how that happened and how they can make sure that doesn't happen again. So, here we go. Again, it's one of those things, people are very crafty. And in Santa Cruz, they have but I'm not here to argue Santa Cruz. I'm just saying that everything that needs to be done needs to be done.
And Chairman Angus, I believe I've already discussed this with the board on one occasion, the Santa Cruz situation. The way that occurred was that the Santa Cruz treasurer had the ability to initiate a wire transfer as well as to approve it herself. I'm sure our treasurer's office could give you much more detail than I can, but they have procedures in place to prevent that. They require one person to initiate, another person to approve.
So for all those years, she was able to do that with no oversight. It's pretty amazing.
It's my understanding she was also keeping a second set of books as well,
there you go.
and producing fraudulent financial statements.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just to let you know, direction-wise, the District 1 office will be putting an item on the next agenda to request a policy be written to get this handled, because with the lack of a policy, that does open up this county to, if it's not written, then, for somebody to make a determination that we don't agree with, just like you didn't agree with some of the determinations that were made. So that's coming.
Well, thank you. Okay. We have one more. You want to say something? Go ahead. You can't wait.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I wanted to assure you that we understand the implications of any concerns or the potential for embezzlement. No implication or indication of any embezzlement here. These are legitimate accounts. We know the dollar amount of these accounts. These are reconciled on a monthly basis, as you heard. We simply reference the accounting standards that we use, which say the board should approve any account. In the process of reviewing, we determined that we have 30 plus accounts, and 15 of them were not approved by the board. It's really not a matter of bad accounting, embezzlement, loss of funds, budgeting, or anything. It's just simply out of the 30 plus accounts, 15 of them did not have documentation of board approval, and we wanted to ensure that every account is approved by the board. Hence, we brought it in front of you, nothing else. We know exactly what the dollar amounts and where these funds are and what they're used for.
Okay. I think we should move on. Yes.
I'd like to continue this item. I'm not really willing to approve these accounts until we come up with a policy.
Okay.
So I'm going to make a motion that we continue this.
Okay. I think Jennifer wants to say
time.
something.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? You want to come up for a minute?
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito. Apparently, brilliant minds think alike, because I was going to suggest that you table this item, bring it back with the policy. It seems like a better late than never thing, and that's good, right? But if you pass it as one blanket thing, you're basically, saying like, I absolve all 15 accounts equally and give them my official blessing to continue on in perpetuity, when maybe there is some consolidation, or maybe because an account was needed 25 years ago, maybe it's not needed now. So what I wanted to suggest is that you bring it back and you go through each of the 15 accounts that don't appear to be authorized on their own merits, rather than just one blanket absolution. Mojave County is one of the counties that doesn't produce a comprehensive annual financial report. I don't know if having a CAFR might have caught this, but we don't have one and we don't do one. So I don't know. Just a question I'm throwing out there. But I think that each one of the accounts should be analyzed on its own benefit and merit of whether or not it needs to continue in the exact manner that it has been for these years. So maybe it could be consolidated, or maybe it could be something could done. Maybe we don't need it at all. Maybe it's covered by something else. But if you pass all of them in one lump, motion, then you don't have the ability to go in on sort of a line item, sort of an idea where you can say, hey, we can do better on this, or maybe this isn't the best bank for us, or maybe we can get a better rate on something. But, just from a financial responsibility point of view, I agree that you should table it, but I'd like to see it brought back. And moreover, if some of these accounts were authorized, maybe some of the other, what would that be, 17 that were authorized, maybe there is some better things that we can do. You found out recently that you could do a lot better on software after overpaying for countless years. So, maybe this is a good time to review all 32 accounts, but especially the 15 that haven't been authorized, because if you do it all together, you might miss something. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, and thank you, Supervisor Gold, for making a proper motion.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second, I believe. Okay, no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 38. This is discussion to approve award for a contract for the Courthouse annex remodel with a bunch of stuff. Tara, do you want to come up here?
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I am just here to answer any questions that you might have regarding the backup, but essentially this is the award of the Phase 2A, the annex remodel of the courthouse, and establishing a project budget. The highlight for us is that we anticipate budgetary to actual savings of approximately $2.5 million.
Very good. Okay, before I bring the judge and Kip up, James Jones wants to come down and say a couple of words. Do you want to still? Thank you. Okay, Judge Moss and Kip Anderson.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, county manager, elders, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on this matter. This project has been, I guess, in the contemplated stage for years now. It's necessary for the operations of the Justice Court and for portions of the Superior Court. I sent you a letter about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I'm describing a lot of the problems that existed in the Justice Court trailer, which is adjacent to this building, and why there were some problems associated with that. I won't reiterate all those issues now, but I will say that I was grateful when it went out to bid originally. I was shocked when the bid was way high, and then I was very pleased when the court system and the county administration could work together in order to fine-tune some things in order to save some money, which apparently has now come to fruition. We've really enjoyed and appreciated the cooperation of the county administration and this Board of Supervisors. This is necessary from a judicial standpoint, and we hope that you'll support this project. Thank you.
Anything further? No, from Kip? Okay, does the board have any questions for anyone?
I have a question. Yeah, I do too.
Okay, let's start with Supervisor Johnson.
Mine is for Tara, not the tenant.
Okay. Thank you. Should I sit down, Supervisor Gould?
Bring it back.
You went out for bid, and you're talking about how you saved us $2 million. You're not completing the building. What decision, and who made the decision to say, we'll just ignore the basement?
So it wasn't a decision to ignore the basement. It was a rework of the project scope. Director Latowski might be better equipped to discuss this, but as part of our collaborative work with the legal services, with the court system, we looked at that was going to be contemplated to be office space, is my understanding, and it was, approximately $1 million. We actually reworked it to be storage and less needing less work, and Public Works is going to be able to do some of the improvements in that space without turning it into an office space. So it's just a reconfiguration. The person that was originally going to be housed down in the courthouse has been moved into, or in the basement portion was moved to another location within the building. So it's just kind of working with, we were looking at the high dollar areas and saying, can we do this a little bit differently? And that was one area that we realized if we kept it, nobody really wants to be in the office basement. So if we kept it more storage and long-term archive, we could spend less money there and put somebody in an office in a better location.
I mean, I'm not an architect or an engineer, thankfully, but I know that basement area has been a mess for years. Is it going to cost the county more money later to remodel this, to fix the downstairs? Is it being fixed, or just shoving boxes down there?
The county manager probably can answer this better than me, but my understanding is we've already done some improvements in that space, and I think it's almost ready in its current state.
And then I see where you saved $2 million, but did you add on this new furniture and the video? Did you add those to a bid that wasn't in there before?
Those were always contemplated in the overall project costs. So the budget for this year was specific to just this portion of phase 2. And that's why it's kind of tough to talk about it, because we haven't actually saved the money yet. And we all know that when you get into a project, things might go a little bit different. But we are expecting the all-in budget to be a $2.5 million savings from what was contemplated in the capital improvement budget this year. Furniture was anticipated in the prior project. I actually believe by working with multiple vendors, I think we were able to cut the furniture expenditures in almost half. These are all things, we've been working on this project for so long. A lot of it is off of memory, but the initial furniture proposal in the project that was overbid and we did not award, I want to say was double what this furniture proposal is. So there have been a lot of things working with Public Works staff and with the court staff that we've done to make sure that we're right-sizing the scope to fit the budget that we have. And that's where I'm saying that we're recommending approximately about $2.5 million, quote unquote, go back to the general fund for some of the other capital projects that we have.
I guess what I don't understand is in the back of it says additional project-related expenses. So I would guess that would be...
That's just to help develop the total project budget. So that, I think it was $700,000.
Yeah.
Those are known costs related to the total project, but the board had not approved those yet. So we're asking almost essentially like a pocket of money for the furniture, the IT, the audio visual. We've received some quotes. We think that that's the final amount. And so they're reasonably accurate numbers. We're wanting the board to set a budget that says X amount of dollars for construction, X amount of dollars for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and we do not anticipate needing to come back to the board. The only other piece, I think we put about $15,000 for an architectural revision as part of the work that Public Works did to uncover some of the unknowns in the building, that there is some redesign work associated with the sewer system, and so we need to do a change order to the contract with DFDG to cover the fact that they did redo that design work for us. So that item would come back to the board. But other than that, we don't anticipate needing to come back to the board if this budget is approved along with this award.
What was budgeted before when it was approved by the board for furnishings and video?
Nothing had been approved yet. It was all part of an overall budget. So the $10.1 million for the total budget anticipated that those would be costs. This is just the first time that we're bringing a package to the board that says here's what we actually think it's going to cost for furniture.
Madam Chair.
Something I've been curious to me. How come every time we build a building, we just throw out all the furniture everybody's sitting on and we don't move it like any other normal human being would? Yes, County Manager.
Madam Chair and board members, thank you, Supervisor Johnson. The basement aspect of it was truly working with the court to scale back the project. If you recall, this project started years ago with building and remodeling, building a new courthouse and remodeling the existing courthouse. Then it was bifurcated back in 2016, 2017. For this phase, we started with just remodeling the annex, the entire the old courthouse, including the dome. The cost of that exceeded what we felt we could afford at this time. So working with the courts, we sat down and said, what is it that you need today? What can you live with? And what is required for the justices of the peace, as you heard from the presiding judge. We scaled back, and even then, we did not get a bid after we had gotten a high bid where we informed you, the board, we could not afford. So we had our folks go in and expose some uncertainties, walls and ceilings and such, to eliminate the risk, so bidders know what they were bidding on. We timed it as far as the market is concerned. We believe this is a good time to go to the market, that things have stabilized, and the bid that we received is reflected in that. So what we're requesting, supervisors, is an award of the construction contract while we're anticipating. We've done due diligence to know what the furnishing is going to be. And Supervisor Johnson, we are trying to save what we can, but some of the furniture is truly outdated and has more than lived its life cycle. So it will include audio, video, it will include furniture, it will include those steps necessary to have this a turnkey and open it up for the intended use. And with those accounted for, the total dollar amount, not just for construction, but additionally for the audio, video, as well as furniture, and to turn it into fully operational, is still $2.5 million below the budgeted amount for this project, and that's really what we wanted to present you with. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Director Acton, wasn't this the project that we received no bidders on last time we put it out to bid?
Sorry, Chairman, Supervisor Gould. I don't believe we got no bids on this one. We've gone through so many iterations. You stumped me for a moment. When we originally went out to bid for this project, it came in, I think, like $2 million over what we had budgeted for it. I don't believe that we did, and Sam might remember better than me. I don't remember. We may have tried to do another one of a phase 2, and there was too many unknowns. But
You have an answer to the question?
Yeah.
Supervisor Gould, thank you. We've been out, this is the third time. We went out the first time, we got a bid that was over $2 million over. We went back, tweaked the scope, put it out, did not get a single bid. So that's why we went out this time, exposed walls, exposed ceiling, tried to minimize the risk. We did some prep. We invited the contractors for a walkthrough, hoping that would minimize the risk and the timing of it. Believe me, it was by design, as when we went out this last time to try to get a bid, and we did receive 3 of them this time, Supervisor, and 2 of them are below our estimate, and the one that is being recommended for award is an excellent bid given what we've been through.
Okay, any other questions? Supervisor Bishop, anything? Nope. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's the pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Any second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, 3-2, motion passes. Next up, item 39, Mr. Supervisor Lingenfelter, this is your ARPA project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Coming down to the wire and making sure that all of those funds are programmed through the District 1 office, so I'd make a recommendation to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is I put up on some items, discussion possible action to cancel the December 16, 2024 Board of Supervisors meetings we do every year for a variety of reasons. I make a motion to approve.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
With the ARPA deadline hanging over our head, I believe it would be wise to schedule a meeting towards the end of the month so that if we do have to have a board action, we'll be able to do that. We could always cancel that meeting if we don't need it.
Or we can just have a special meeting.
But a special meeting takes 2 days to set
Okay,
up.
so you want to keep this for now and
I
then?
don't know if I want to keep this one or schedule one further out towards the end of the year. And I'm more than willing to come up and chair it if everybody is out vacating.
Well, we have to make sure we have a quorum. What do you think of that,
Chairman
Sam?
Angus?
Yeah.
I agree with Supervisor Gold. I think we should just leave it as is, the regular meeting date. As long as we'll be able to have a quorum, and I don't have any plans of being out of the area, so there's 2 of us.
Okay, so is that what the board wishes? Then we'll take no action on this.
Do you want to keep it on that, or you want to move it closer to the end of the year?
Well,
That's the 19th.
what would be the next one?
That meeting is December 16th.
Excuse me?
The second meeting of the month is December 16th.
Right, which it says here. He's saying that maybe we
16,
should
I
do
said
it.
19.
Yeah. So what do you think? If you want to make a motion, something other than the 16th?
My calendar.
So can we ask the county manager if he thinks we'll have ARPA decisions to make closer to the end of the month, or how do you?
Yeah. How many are outstanding?
Madam Chair and Supervisor Bishop and all supervisors, in a nutshell, at the end of today's board meeting, District 1, District 2, District 3, and 4 are, I would say, fully programmed. So at the end of this board meeting, when the board takes action on the items, that would leave District 5 with some funding. The concern is we are past the timeline to like not just have the board action taken, but to have a funding agreement in place and to meet the requirement of ARPA. Those are the constraints that we shared with you earlier in the year when we were trying back in March to say, let's program the dollars, and so we have enough time to have funding agreements, contracts, and so on. So in all honesty, the concern is whether it's the 16th or whether we do it between Christmas and New Year, we may not be able to meet the Treasury deadline for what they consider obligated amounts. So what we've been doing here is a supervisor puts a project or a request on the agenda, the board approves it, and then staff goes back, prepares the funding agreement, and brings it back to the board. Until the funding agreement is approved by the board and is signed by the recipient, then it's not obligated.
So what I heard was all the districts except District 5, we're all spoken for. So this is just for your district. Do you think that you're going to have that issue?
Madam Chairman, you think you're spoken for, but this is not the first time that something has come back in the 11th hour.
Right.
The checks aren't written. So I'm going to move that we have a meeting on the 23rd. Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, just a clarification. Does that mean we keep the one on the 16th and have one on the 23rd, or are we doing away with the 16th?
It means we canceled the one on the 16th.
We canceled the one on the 16th. You need a different kind of motion? Do we need to?
I would just clarify the motion, if you could do a clarification to the motion.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I move, my motion is that we move the meeting on the 16th to the 23rd.
Second.
Okay, motion and revised second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 41, this is one of my ARPA projects. Hopefully we'll have that check written. And I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 42, accept the resignation of Dalton Barlow as the District 1 representative to Mojave County Planning and Zoning Commission. Supervisor Lingenfelter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to thank Mr. Dalton Barlow for his service to District 1, and I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 43.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 44.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 45.
Madam Chair, I'd like to thank Michael Bradshaw for his service to District 1 on P&Z and recommendation to approve his continuation.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 46.
Madam Chair, District 1 ARPA project in the amount of just over $5,000. Motion to approve.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 47, this is to authorize the Attorney General's office as designee to defend Mojave County in tax lawsuits.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 48. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's become routine business to approve the hiring from the freeze, but it has been causing a problem for our departments because sometimes if they can't get it on an agenda 3 weeks before they can get out and start hiring people, and we're not, these are all funded positions, so it's not like they're just replacing people that they already have. So I'd make the motion that we do away with the freeze on bringing them in front of the board.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Chair.
Aye.
Oh, excuse me.
One discussion point for the
Yeah,
county
okay.
manager, if I may, before we complete the vote.
Okay.
County Manager Elters, the reason that we did this, and that came from the board, was to take advantage of the vacancy savings when somebody leaves, that we wouldn't fill that position until those vacancy savings were captured. And I think that that was reflected in a big part of passing a budget this last year. It's still predicted that we're structurally unsound. We had to dip into the contingency this last year. My question to you is this hiring freeze, are we still seeing the benefit of the vacancy savings accruing?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Lingenfelter, I would say yes. We really have not, as Supervisor Johnson pointed out, these are filling of vacancies that are taking place to fill positions today. The hiring freeze that the board put in place in August of last year was put in place when we had other vacancies. Those remain unfilled. These that come before the board on monthly basis, these are people that are departing, and we're coming to the board asking permission as required to fill those positions. So we continue to have vacancies. This may be an opportunity where we might be able to attract some additional, perhaps higher qualified talent if we can go out and fill. We're not asking for additional positions. These are all funded positions that were just determined necessary for the operation and the function of a given department. I hope I answered your question, but I'm happy to try.
Madam Chair, Manager Elters, I can't recall last year the date that we implemented that hiring freeze, but going into this next fiscal year budget, do you see that we're going to have to reinstitute a hiring freeze as a part of a solution?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Lingenfelter, I hope not. I honestly do not believe that we will have vacancy saving in this year that we will realize at the end of the year. So, and I think it will be just judging by how many positions we have vacant and how long they have been, Supervisor. I truly believe we will have a substantial vacancy saving that will go into balancing the budget in FY26.
Thank you. And last question, Madam Chair, if I may. Do you know if the state of Arizona, if they still have their hiring freeze in place? Because I know that the state of Arizona did institute a hiring freeze at the state level as well.
Madam Chair, Supervisor Lingenfelter, I honestly have not received any updates to change that, so I
They
was
haven't repealed it? Is it still in
Yeah,
effect?
I do not believe so. I believe it's still in place.
Do we have a motion? Okay, so I need so just ask me, do I have a motion in a second?
Yes, you do. Supervisor Johnson and Supervisor Gold second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, that's 4-1. Okay, this is put on by me. For now, I'm gonna skip 49 because I think we're gonna go in executive session. I just get these two done with so people can leave if they want. Item 50, this is a ARPA project in Bullhead City, so I make a motion to approve. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 51. This is a discussion to approve obligating remaining of $640,432.12 of ARPA funds to the county general fund. I think we've already said that this was mostly coming from your district.
Chairman Angus, members of the board, this item is brought before you. As you're well aware, the obligation deadline for the ARPA is December 31st of this year. And so the intent of this item was to ensure that any funds that are not obligated to a specific project in any of the 5 districts, we do have the option to obligate those to the general fund under the revenue replacement category. The county took a $10 million standard election when the ARPA program was rolled out. We have capacity under that $10 million for the $640,000 or so that is currently unobligated. The way that would be obligated is essentially the same way that we utilize the local assistance tribal consistency funding, that $12 million that we received a few years back. We basically use that to offset a portion of the public safety salaries and expense, and so that on the sheriff patrol side as well as in the jail. And that's what I'm proposing today. Chairman Angus, no, there's no reason that we cannot do that.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going back to 49. I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Call this meeting back to order. Item 49, I'm going to make a motion that we put this off until January 1st, whenever, and sometime in January when the new board is here with some fresh eyes and a new vision for the county. And so I'm just going to make a motion that we put this off till January 1st meeting in January. Second meeting in January.
Second.
All right, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.